you. Now to officially start our meeting, Commissioner Batchelor, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First item on our agenda this morning is going to be item B, approval of the regular session minutes of July the 14th, 2021. Board, we received these in advance. Are there any deletions or corrections this morning?
None here.
Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes. Item C, public participation. Is there anyone in the audience this morning that would like to address the board? Seeing none, we will move on now. And before we go to item D, I'd like to move one section of our county staff and elected officials discussions up under item H, and this is our new business guide. And we have Scott Gafford and Mike McNamara with us this morning. Could you give us a presentation and an overview of what this is?
Thank you, Commissioners. Michael McNamara, Department of Community and Economic Development. I'm here today with Scott Gafford, who will be giving you some information about the new guide that our department has produced for the people of Clermont County. But I wanted to let you know in the coming weeks that our department will be having some updates to the commissioners at meetings about some of the different things that we're doing with our GIS, customer service friendliness out at Permit Central, and the other progress that we're making with our department. I've been here for a year now, and so I want to make sure that the commissioners and the public are updated about the progress that we're making in community and economic development. So with that, I'm going to introduce Scott Gafford, our development specialist.
Thank you. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, commissioners. As Michael introduced me, I'm Scott Gafford with Community and Economic Development. I'm here to present our small business guide. The commissioners and our department want to continue to provide and expand access to economic opportunity for all residents in the county. This guide represents a first step in that goal. The guide's meant to be a concise and accessible roadmap to starting a new business. We wanted it to be unintimidating and accessible to residents of all different experience levels, but we still wanted it to provide steps A through Z on how to start a business while providing all the necessary resources needed to really get a business off the ground and running. So some of those resources might be the Chamber of Commerce here in Clermont County, the Small Business Association, in the state of Ohio. Certainly this is not a final version. We'll continue to update it throughout based on feedback and changes in the business climate. But we really wanted it to be ready for the county fair next week. We think that's a really exciting opportunity to get this out into the public. And hopefully we can find some young entrepreneurs that come up to the booth, maybe take the guide, and maybe this is kind of the impetus for them to get started with, getting their gears churning on starting a business of their own. And really this is part of a larger outreach effort to residents and local businesses in the county. We'll be providing informational videos on county processes. We've got permitting videos in the works. We'll be taking a more proactive business retention and expansion approach, reaching out to businesses that maybe we've lost contact with or new businesses. And we'll be updating those materials for those meetings as well. With that, I just want to thank you all for your time. We look forward to future updates on this ongoing program as we move forward. So thank you.
Very impressed with it.
Thank you.
And
Thank
with
you.
the work that the department's doing. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Mike. It'll be nice to have at the county fairs. We're going to have a table there, so
Oh, yeah.
people will be able to come in and get any other thing.
And I understand that this is a result of many phone calls that have been received by the office about, how you start a business, how do you get an EIN number, all of those kind of things, which makes perfect sense.
Certainly, yeah. It'll be a great resource and online. All the links that are included in that are hyperlinks, so they can click on them. It'll take them to whatever resource is linked to, so they can get all the granular detail there as well. But of course, we just want folks to know that we're here to help, and we can provide those resources as well.
I think some of those additional questions may have been provided due to people during the pandemic having more time to work at home, and a lot of them now have come off of that pandemic and thought, well, how can I start a, a business niche where, I can get some flexibility. The only thing I'd caution them on that is if you've ever run a small business, it's 24/7 endeavor, no question about that.
Absolutely.
You bet.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you very much. Thank you, both of you. We go back on our regular agenda now. Item D, consent agenda. Board, we've also received this in advance. Are there any deletions or corrections to the consent agenda today?
None.
Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes. Moving to item E, which is our non-consent agenda, and this is item number 16. It is a recommendation that the Board of County Commissioners adopt resolution number 123-21, resolving to approve payment to vendors in the total amount of $1,982,155.47 as set forth in the BCC approval invoice report for checks dated July 21st, 2021. BCC directed prepaid invoices and reports and/or the procurement card transaction report as presented by the county auditor on July 20th, 21, and further authorizing the county auditor to issue warrants for same pursuant to section 319.16 the Ohio Revised Code. Do I have a motion to pay the bills?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes. Item number 17. Connie Tibby, good morning to you.
Item number 17 is the recommendation of Thomas J. Eigel, County Administrator, to authorize Timothy Dick, Director of the Department of Job and Family Services, to execute an agreement for early intervention service coordination by and between Clermont County Department of Job and Family Services, acting in its role as administrative agent for the Clermont County Family and Children First, and the Clermont County Board of Developmental Disabilities, out of Batavia, Ohio, for the provision of early intervention service coordination services to families with children from birth to age 2 with developmental delays, as outlined in the project narrative attached thereto and incorporated therein as Attachment A, an amount not to exceed $518,457 for state fiscal year 2022, effective for the period of July 1, 2021 through June 30th of 2022, pursuant to the terms and conditions specified therein, and in concert with the Early Intervention Service Coordination Grant Agreement by and between Clermont County, Ohio, and the Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities, previously ratified by the Board of County Commissioners on May 19th of 2021, in conjunction with Part C of the Individuals and Disabilities Education Act, and contingent upon the release of the required purchase order in concert with requisition number 3369-00, dated June 30th, 2021, relative thereto.
Board, you've heard the recommendation to accept the agreement for the early intervention services coordination between Job and Family Services of Clermont County, Ohio, and the Clermont County Board of Developmental Disabilities, and for the provision of the early intervention service coordination services to families with children from birth to age 2 with developmental delays. Do I have a motion to approve?
I will make the motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes, thank you, Connie. Item number 18. Good morning, Jeannie Zermely.
Item 18 is the recommendation of Jeannie Zermely, Clermont County Treasurer, with the concurrence of Thomas J. Eigel, County Administrator, to adopt Resolution Number 124-21, resolving to designate U.S. Bank N.A. as the public depository for the active funds of Clermont County, Ohio, for the period of August 24, 2021 through August 23, 2025, pursuant to and in compliance with Section 135.33C of the Ohio Revised Code, and to approve and sign the Memorandum of Agreement for Deposit of Public Funds by and between the County of Clermont, Ohio, and U.S. Bank N.A., designated Exhibit A, attached thereto and made a part thereof, and further resolving to exercise the renewal option to continue banking services with U.S. Bank N.A. as stated therein.
Board, you've heard the recommendation to adopt resolution number 124-21, And this is resolving to designate U.S. Bank N.A. as the public depository for active funds in Clermont County, Ohio, and the memorandum of agreement for deposit of public funds. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Hey, Gene, could you just give an overview real quick of what the public depository does and,
Yeah.
and how those funds work?
Yeah, these are for public, for active funds only. So those are not CDs or investments. It is the money that comes in and out of the county on a daily basis. And we've had a good relationship with U.S. Bank. This is just renewing the agreement for them to accept those funds. They have the capability to insure those funds because at times, like right now where we're in tax collection, we have a large amount of money in the bank. So we need a bank that can secure those funds and collateralize those at 105%.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes. Item number 19. Thank
Thanks,
you,
Jeannie.
Jeannie. Lyle Bloom, good morning.
Morning. Item 19 is a recommendation to authorize Claire B. Corcoran, President of the Board of County Commissioners, to execute change order number 2 to the contract with Majors Enterprises Incorporated out of Monroe, Ohio. This was previously ratified by the board on August 12, 2020, and subsequently amended on January 13, 2021. And it's for project number 6402-60174, relative to the Dublin Drive Sewer Replacement Project located in Miami Township, and represents an increase in the amount of $16,230 for a total adjusted contract price to date of $116,230, as well as a non-compensable extension of time of 176 calendar days for the completion thereof, for a revised contract completion date of May 21st, 2021, for additions, deletions, and/or modifications thereto as defined therein, and contingent upon the release of the necessary purchase order. And this is the final change order for the project and the final adjustment of quantities.
Thank you. Board, you've heard the recommendation to execute change order number 2 to the contract with Major Enterprises Incorporated, and this has to do with the Dublin Drive Sewer Replacement Project. Do I have a motion to approve?
I will make the motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes. Item number 20. Thank you, Lyle. Wade Grabowski, good morning.
Agenda item number 20 is a recommendation for myself, Wade Grabowski, Clermont County Facilities Management Department, with the concurrence of Mr. Thomas J. Eigel, County Administrator, to accept the contract by and between the County of Clermont, Ohio, and Graybach LLC, Cincinnati, Ohio, for the Clermont County Sheriff's Office Safety and Training Facility located within the Village of Batavia, as complete as of October 26, 2020, and to approve the application and certificate for payment number 8, final, which represents the release of retainage in the amount of $95,356.37, paid through the auditor, made payable in the form detailed below. These are just all the subcontractors that work. This is the final retainage.
Great. Board, you've heard the recommendation to accept the contract with Graybach LLC and for the Clermont County Sheriff's Office Safety and Training Facility, and this is the final, correct?
Correct.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion?
Wade, these particular amounts that are shown on here,
Yes, sir.
I know the one is identified as retainage. These other amounts, these are amounts that are owed to the
That is
subcontractors for
correct, sir.
final.
And that's why there's a duplicate. You actually make dual checks out, okay? So we know that the subcontractors are going to get to the final payment.
And I only want, and you know what the question is I'm going to ask. I know we had a water problem over there.
We did?
Are any of these payments additions that they're getting to correct that water
No,
problem?
this is the original contract itself. Everything else was handled through Graybach directly. You know, everything that we had as far as the completion of the project, and they took care of everything financially. These do not affect that.
And we are absolutely satisfied that the damp proofing problem that we had before has been corrected?
That is correct, sir.
Okay.
We've since had a industrial hygienist in there after a 6-month period just to do a once-over, checked everything out, everything was fine.
Okay.
And then, as you know, we have the thermal imaging cameras now,
Yep.
and we can actually check these things ourselves from this point forward.
Okay, well, thank you.
No, thank you.
Anything, Commissioner Batchelor? Call for the motion, and now I ask for a roll call, please.
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes, thank you,
Thank
Wade,
you.
for all you did over there. Item number 21, Sandy DeHaat, good morning.
Item 21 is a recommendation of Thomas J. Igel, County Administrator, to adopt a table of organization for Clermont Transportation Connection, to add one full-time grants manager, class number 69515, pay range B, as outlined in Exhibit A attached thereto, made a part thereof, effective upon approval, and further to authorize the update of the appropriate internet links and dependencies accordingly.
Board, you heard the recommendation to adopt a revised table of organization for Clermont County Transportation Connection and the contents therein. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes. Item number 22, Sandy
Item
DeHaat.
22 is a recommendation of Greg Bigford, Assistant County Administrator, to adopt a revised table of organization for the Clermont County Kennel, adding one full-time kennel attendant, class number 79904, pay range 3, as outlined in Exhibit A attached thereto and made a part thereof, effective upon approval, and further to authorize the update of the appropriate internet links and dependencies accordingly.
Board, you've heard the recommendation to adopt the additions and to the revised table of organization for the Clermont County Kennel. And do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes, thank you, Sandy. Item number 23, Wade Grabowski, you're up again.
Item number 23 is a recommendation from Mr. Thomas J. Igel, County Administrator, to execute a lease agreement by and between the Clermont County Mental Health and Recovery Board, located at 2337 Clermont Center Drive, Batavia, and the Board of County Commissioners, Clermont County, Ohio, for the lease of approximately 2,691 square feet of office space located at the same address, 2337 Clermont Center Drive, as depicted on Exhibit A, attached thereto and made a part thereof, to be utilized by employees of the Probation Department, and that would be the Clermont County Juvenile Court Probation Department, for a period of 24 months commencing on January 1st, 2021 through January 1st, 2023, for the annual sum of $21,054, payable in monthly installments of $1,754.50, pursuant to and in compliance with the terms and conditions set forth therein. This is the overage of the staff that is currently in the probation building, and we've been doing this for 2 years now.
Great, thank you. Board, you've heard the recommendation to execute the lease agreement by and between Clermont County Mental Health and Recovery Board for the office space to be utilized by the employees of the Probation Department of Clermont County Juvenile Court. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion this morning? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes, thank you, Wade. Item number 24, Emily Akers, good morning.
Good morning. I have a recommendation of Mary Kay Raines, Director, Office of Management and Budget, with the concurrence of Thomas J. Igel, County Administrator, to adopt Resolution Number 125-21, resolving to adopt an alternative method of apportionment of the undivided local government fund for calendar year 2022, per Ohio Revised Code Section 5747.53. Excludes the approval otherwise required of the legislative authority of the city located wholly or partially in the county with the greatest population with local government funds for 2022 to be distributed in the following basis. The county will receive 48.545% of the total allocation to be dispersed. The remaining amount of the funds after the county allocation outlined in item 1 above, which is 51.455%, will be dispersed as follows. 25% of the remaining funds will be shared equally among all municipalities and townships. 75% of the remaining amount of the funds will be distributed to the municipalities and townships on a per capita basis and will be adjusted as necessary based upon the most current United States Census.
Board, you've heard the recommendation and to adopt resolution number 125-21, resolving to adopt an alternative method of apportionment of the undivided local government funds for the calendar year 2022 and the contents in the reading. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Any discussion this morning?
Just some discussion about, this is the third year of the alternative proportionment. So, one of the things that I would encourage is that, this is this is the time to move forward with a renegotiation with all the parties that are obviously invested in the local government fund. So I know from the very start of that 3 years ago, everybody pretty much committed to that that renegotiation and sitting down and talking. So, I would just encourage that would continue to happen. You bet.
And Dave, if I could just add to that, I think that needs to be done in a timely manner so that it's not rushed at the time where it's to come before the board to be approved. And I do believe all 14 townships and one municipality did vote to adopt this again for the third year.
Thank you, both of you.
Yes.
Sure. It's yours.
Bob, make sure you state your name and your
Address.
address when you're up there, please.
Bob Hauserman, Goshen Township Trustee, Vice President of the Clermont County Township Association. I'd just like to thank you for your consideration. And with as we all know, the past COVID year has been restrictive on everybody in their meetings. So as the future moves and things become quote unquote more normal, maybe we can actually have those meetings and move right along. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bob.
Anything, Mr. President? All right, thank you. All right. Could I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Painter?
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes. Item number 25, Holly Crewy, you doing this one, please?
Yeah, I can do this one. This is the recommendation to adopt resolution number 126-21, resolving to authorize Thomas J. Eigel, County Administrator, to file an application for federal assistance, OMB SF 424, including furnishing such additional information as required in connection with the application on behalf of the Clermont County Board of Commissioners with the Federal Aviation Administration under the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 in the amount of $59,000 pursuant to and in compliance with the terms and conditions set forth therein.
Board, you've heard the recommendation of our county administrator to adopt resolution number 126-21, application of federal assistance with the Federal Aviation Administration. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion this morning?
Yeah, Tom, this 59,000 is for what particular project at the airport?
It's just ongoing operation and maintenance.
Okay.
No specific project attached to it.
And this actual money will be spent by the manager of the airport?
No, we actually will contract.
Okay, so we'll contract
Yeah,
direct.
and then we'll draw down the funds.
No problem. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes. Moving on to item F, and are there any additions this morning to the agenda?
There are no additions to the agenda at this time, but does the board want to go and speak on the member comments right now versus going into executive session?
We can do
We
that.
can move that up if you'd
Yes.
like.
Okay, we're going to move up member comments this morning.
Okay.
What do we have on?
So last week, I think there were two questions that the board had asked us to research. One was the 911 fees. The second was some issues with Intergov and some planning documents. So Mr. Bickford, I'll introduce Mr. Bickford to discuss both of those topics. So we'll start with the planning documents, Craig.
The planning documents, you had asked us to look into some of the Intergov improvements and electronic submittals, and so we are taking a look at that. There is a module that's available for purchase. So I've got the Department of Economic Development looking into how to streamline that process. One of the challenges we're going to have is there are outside agencies that have to be integrated into the system, and it's a funding issue, number one, which probably can be overcome, but it's also a willingness to use the system. So Taylor Corbett over in the Planning Department is looking into how to streamline that process. So we're looking at two fronts. Number one is replat or plats and subdivisions, but also building permits. We're looking at electronic submittal of building permits, which is becoming more and more the norm. So we are going forward with that, and so we should have something concrete here in the next month or two as to what can be done and how we can improve that.
Yeah, it would be great to be able to use a system like that, to be able to streamline the permitting process. And on the other side of the planning documents, it'd be great that the general public have access to that, but for the users to be able to access it so that as it moves on down the system and gains comments and maybe refusals, that those can be viewed by folks that are either inquiring about the information or need to follow on approval.
Right, and one of the things we have right now is some of that functionality is there. There's a large upgrade to EnerGov happening, which is going to streamline some of this. So I would anticipate by the end of the year we'll have a pretty good handle on, or have it actually up and running on how to check that information out. So it will definitely improve. You know, it's for so long things have been paper and manual and letters, and it's getting over the hurdle of getting various organizations to realize that you don't have to write the letter. It can all be handled electronically. So that's an education process internally as well that we're working on.
Yeah. Thank you.
And Greg, the other thing is, just like the new business form we got, that department's doing a great job of what I call baby stepping it, making it each step so no matter where you are, no matter what your educational level is, you can follow through.
Yeah, and that's one of the advantages I think that we've learned over the last year is people are still trying to start businesses, still trying to promote economic development. So we are just realizing the tools we need to create to help them along in that process. And I think that's a lot of good things are going to happen in the coming years. Now that economic development is fully staffed, they are working on a new website. We are being more proactive with what's called LoopNet, requests for information. So what you don't see that there are companies constantly looking for space. So we are now actively recruiting those companies based on information we get from the local jurisdictions as to what they have. So we're kind of becoming a one-stop shop for recruitment of businesses.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any questions on that topic?
No,
Okay.
great.
Okay, so Greg and Ms. Akers, I think, want to talk to you a little bit about the 911 fees and the formulas we've used, and
Right.
so I'll turn it back over to Greg.
So we have Emily Akers here, who's our Assistant Director of the OMB, and we're here to talk about the 911 rates for 2020 usage, payment in 2022. If you remember, we had, Mary Raines had presented several months ago about the cost for dispatch, where it was and where it will be headed. Obviously, the number of, and John Cascaden is here as well, so he can answer any questions about the dispatch center, but the number of calls decreased last year, so that obviously changes our funding model because it's based upon calls and volume. So when originally presented, Mary Raines had talked about using some of the CARES funds to reduce the overall cost of the center, and what that did was it made the cost per call approximately $8.33 versus the $9.98 it would have been without that CARES funding supplemental. The commissioners had asked us to look into potentially holding the rates from 2019 as we move forward in 2022 billing at $7.41. And what Mary has come up with is, if that is to happen, the commission will need to kick in an additional $136,000 to make up that difference to hold those rates as is. Some of the issues with that happen to be, when you move forward again, the costs are going to continue to rise. So it's a question of, at what point do you make that jump to the next level? So that's the information that we have for you. So if you would like to discuss, or if you have any questions, John or Emily, we're happy to answer them.
Greg, when I met with some of the chiefs around the county, they asked that we hold it the same this year. They would like to form a committee, work with all of us to see what kind of rate we can come up with, where we could get additional money. But the thing that I see, if we hold it the same this year, it's going to be a much larger jump 2 years down the road than where if we would ease it in.
Potential.
So,
The reason for the jump this past year was the call volume decrease. Now, John can speak to, our call volume has ramped back up, so I think we're on pace to equal 2019 again. So the comm center is it's a fluid mechanism because your costs change every year, and the county absorbs all the capital costs for the entire system. So it's really your operations that gets passed on to the local jurisdictions. 20%. About 20%. I think with this, the way it was done initially, if you hold the rates, the county is going to absorb approximately 84% of the system costs, and the jurisdictions will absorb about 15%. Normally, like Emily said, it's an 80-20 split.
Emily, do you have anything this morning also you'd like to say with Greg?
Greg summed it up really well. I would say, you know, considering in 2020 the calls were dropped, so in 2020 we're billing in 22 off of the 2020 rate, calls and volume. and the operation costs in 2020, you know, they increase slightly every year. Well, I think they're pretty much fully staffed or looking to be fully staffed. So in 2021, when we bill in 23, operation cost, you know, will be a little bit higher due to staffing will finally be back to normal levels. So if the rates do get held this year, the anticipation it can be a jump when looking at full staffed again too. So that's just the thing to consider with, you know, what the county is going to put into it, in addition to the 80% that the county pays.
Thank you. John Cascaden, anything? I'm putting everybody on the spot this morning, but. Give me a second. Sure. It just clarifies it, I think, if everybody gives all the pieces, so we understand where we're
As
going.
far as numbers are going, in June of this year, we went back to the pre-COVID levels of 911 calls. We're about 300 calls higher than we were, so, I mean, it's picking up. You know, things are back to normal, businesses are open, festivals are happening, even the fair's back. I mean, it's going to go up.
Okay.
Can't tell you how high it's going to go up, but it will definitely be higher than last year because it's already higher than last year.
Well, people were staying home and now they're out and about again, so you know your runs are going to increase.
We have, you know, more accidents,
Right.
more of everything. People were
But since the
back to
cost is
normal.
predicated on call volume,
Yes.
it may be less than what we think it is if the call volume
And
is
over the years,
up in normal
has
instance.
went up and down. I mean, it's went as high as $7 or $8 a call, and it's dropped back to $5 a call. I mean, it's a roller coaster.
So,
Like Mr. Bickford said, it's dependent on activity. And
so really the question here that's before the board, we've already done the budget. So what we're talking about now is appropriating funds here to that. You know, the question that's before the board is, does the board want to invest another $136,000 into their portion of the call center to be able to hold the cost to the other users the same as it was last year at the 7.41 cents per dispatch? John, just so everybody understands that, you know, when people put that, when we get down and to determine those costs, we get right down into the minute, you know, of calls and how that is. The 741 is actually the cost if a service is dispatched. Is that correct?
Not every call generates a service.
Right.
So, I mean, if you call and, you know, you want a police officer to call you back, they don't get billed for that.
Right.
But if you call and you want a police officer to come to your house or take a report or whatever, that's a call for service. You know, you call for an ambulance or fire department, that's a call for service. You call and want information, that's not a billable.
Right.
So there's different levels of bill.
In my desire is really simple. You know, I think that in this COVID environment and what, you know, counties and jurisdictions have incurred already, and with the response funds, is that I'm willing to hold the cost at 741 for the next year to give everybody the time to, you know, discuss some amenable path forward.
And that also gives the board time to review
Correct.
our formula and everything else, so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to follow up, Mary had put in the tax budget using the CARES adjusted numbers at $8.33 per call. So there's 3 levels of service. There's public safety users. Their current rate is $7.41 per call. Cost per dispatch for non-safety users is $6.65 per call. And then cost per minute of airtime is 74 cents.
What was the first one? I missed it, I'm sorry.
Cost per dispatch for public safety users, police and fire,
The amount I meant,
$7.41.
back to that, okay.
So your budget, the tax budget was approved using the 79-20 split of $8.33 for public dispatch.
But we make those adjustments at appropriation.
We'd make it,
Yes.
yeah, that's correct, we make them at
Yeah,
appropriation.
which would be in
Yes,
August,
but-
November, or October, November for 2022.
Okay.
What they just need to know is what the desire of the board is. Is that correct? Is that what?
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna have to know their rate for when they appropriate their funds.
Right.
For 2022.
Okay.
And then the other thing, we're proposing that any entity that has an outstanding balance with the county, whatever the reduction would have been or will be, assuming this, you move forward with holding the rates the same, that credited amount will come off of any past due balances, and then they will be billed for those past due balances going forward in 2022.
Okay, until that balance is paid in full, they will not see the, okay.
Reduction?
Well, that's the way we're going to proceed.
Okay.
Okay.
So are we asking for a motion this morning?
No, this is just discussion.
Just
We'll
discussion.
Just,
present the rates at
What-
a future date.
Just what your desire is, that's all.
All right. Good. Thank you for all the
Thanks, Barry.
research in that.
Thanks.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you, John. Okay, moving forward now, we're going to go back to item G. And this is a motion, I'm asking for a motion to go into executive session pursuant to section 121.22G1 and G3 of the Ohio Revised Code to number one, consider the employment or compensation of a public employee or more public employees, and number two, to confer with the prosecuting attorney concerning disputes involving the public body that are the subject of pending or imminent court action respectively. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes, we will return shortly. Thank you. We returned from executive session. No decisions were made today. Now we're moving on to any additions to the agenda this morning.
Yeah, we have one for the board's consideration, joint petition for outside legal counsel, and that needs to be added to the agenda first.
All right. Board, I'm requesting a motion to add to the agenda this morning a motion for outside legal counsel. Do I have a motion to add?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes.
Mr. Mooney?
Good afternoon, Mr. Mooney.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This recommendation of Thomas J. Eigel, County Administrator, to authorize Claire B. Corcoran, President of the Board, to execute a joint application for outside legal counsel with the prosecuting attorney to the Clermont County Court of Common Pleas for the employment of outside legal counsel to assist the Clermont County prosecutor in the matter of Frederick M. Weber versus State of Ohio, filed in the Supreme Court of the United States and assigned case number 20-1640, to provide legal services as outlined therein pursuant to and in compliance with Section 305.14 of the Ohio Revised Code as follows. Specifically, retaining the law firm of Ernie G. Ernie Ramos Jr. at 2115 Laurie Avenue in Cincinnati, Ohio, to assist in the matter of Frederick M. Weber versus State of Ohio, which has now been filed before the United States Supreme Court, an hourly rate of $200 per hour.
Board, you've heard the recommendation to execute a joint application for outside legal counsel, and this is to assist the Clermont County prosecutor in the matter of Frederick M. Weber versus State of Ohio, filed in the Supreme Court of the United States and assigned case number 20-1640 as described. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Mr. Mooney, I understand that the need for Ernie to come back and help us out with that case is his standing with the Supreme Court of the State of Ohio.
That's correct. Filing deadline for our reply brief is Monday. We're currently in the process of getting, I believe, actually at least one, possibly two attorneys in our office licensed to practice for the United States Supreme Court. That licensing process won't be completed before Monday. Mr. Ramos does hold that license, and he would be listed as lead counsel at this time.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Mooney.
Thank you.
We have completed any other staff or county elected official discussions under item H. Anything else this morning on that? Okay, hearing none. Item I, any member comments today? Commissioner Painter?
Yeah, this is my first meeting back since going up with the National Association of Counties. One of the things that was emphasized there, I would say the main emphasis of that was obviously the American Rescue Plan. You know, two particular items of interest there are infrastructure. There was a lot of discussion about the applicability of those funds for the installation, upkeep, and continuation of infrastructure in counties, since that money is directly coming from the treasurer. We heard from the assistant treasurer under the secretary for the treasury as to that applicability. The other issue was closing the digital divide. Closing the digital divide is a term that's used by the government agencies to describe broadband expansion throughout America. Just wanted to make sure that you're aware those two seem to be the hinge points of the ARP funding, and that the expectations are that counties will use these funds that are available for a sundry of other things, but the two main focuses were theirs. There is also a final ruling that will be available that's coming from the Department of the Treasury that gives guidelines on the use of American Rescue Plan funds. And it is vast. They opened up the question and answering. I understand that previous to that, there's about 167 pages of questions that will be forthcoming that will give the outline of what those funds can be used for. So I know Tom and Greg have been watching that very closely through NACO, and more information is forthcoming, but they are getting very, very close to that final ruling. So we will know, I believe, with all of those questions in that document, we'll probably have most of our questions answered about its ability. I understand the committal process is that those funds can be committed through the year 2024, and that spending profile is the funds have to be spent prior to 2026. So you've got some time, and I know usually we are conservative when it comes to that, and find out what our thorough understanding is before we spend those funds. So that was the gist. There were a lot of people in attendance there, and it was well represented. So thanks for affording me the opportunity to go.
Mr. Batchelor.
I'd just like to remind everyone, tonight's Salute the Leaders to recognize outstanding citizens in Clermont County that have been nominated by their appropriate townships and other organizations. And this Sunday is the Clermont County Fair Parade. Hopefully it doesn't rain this year. and then next week will be the fair, and hope everyone gets out and enjoys it this year.
Yeah.
And the parade starts at 1 o'clock, correct?
Right.
I understand
Get
a lot
ready
of
for
great
candy.
events, a lot of great events, and I understand some headline music, right? What I hear.
Any other comments today? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor? Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes. Thank you for joining us today, and we will see you again next week.